You simp on women because you're desperate, because you think you're not good enough. You think you have to prove yourself to her, while in reality, it is the other way around. In this modern world, women don't deserve your attention. They have got to earn it. You're the one who should be interviewing her. You don't prove yourself to a woman, you make her prove herself to you. Every time you chase, you lose value. Every time you explain, you lose respect. Every time you fold, she clocks it and it's over. This is your wake-up call. If she hasn't earned your attention, she doesn't deserve your reply. Period. She didn't leave you because you weren't enough. She left because you made yourself too available. Every time you texted her back instantly, every time you double texted when she didn't reply, every time you tried to talk things out when she had already pulled away, you trained her to devalue you, not with malice, but with certainty. Because certainty kills mystery, and mystery is masculine currency. So now you sit in silence, wondering what went wrong. And I'll tell you, you gave her access to a man who never made her earn it. You made yourself cheaper with every message. Now listen closely. The only thing more terrifying to a woman than a man she can't control is a man she can't predict. When you go silent, not to manipulate but to transcend, you ignite her fear of irrelevance. You become the void she tries to fill. Your silence is not absence, it's judgment, not a punishment to her, but a purification of yourself. Because in a world full of men who chase, explain, plead, perform, the man who withdraws becomes mythic. Let her feel your silence like a door she slammed that never reopened. Let her question whether she misjudged your value. Let her wonder if the man who was always there has now become the man she'll never find again. That's how you begin, with silence that speaks louder than begging ever could, with restraint that echoes in her bones, with power that doesn't knock, it waits. And when you do respond, if ever, it must not be a return. It must be a reignition. On your terms, in your frame. Until then, stay gone, because the man who stays silent longest is the one she'll remember forever. Silence is the roar of the sovereign. Most men break the no-contact rule out of desperation. They text because they're lonely, reply because they're afraid of being forgotten, and fold the moment she posts a cryptic story. Every time they chase, they shrink. Every time they reply, they relinquish. But power doesn't chase. Power waits. No contact is not a trick. It's not some tactic from a pickup manual. It's a test, a purification ritual. It's how men shed the skin of their former selves and forge something untouchable. It is the moment you stop seeking closure from someone who shattered your peace. The moment you stop begging questions that should never be answered. The moment you stop placing your healing in her hands. You stop feeding the illusion. You starve the addiction. You silence the boy who wanted to be chosen. You become untraceable, unbothered, untouchable. Every time you don't text her, you reclaim yourself. Every time you don't reply, you reset the frame. Every time you stay silent, you speak a new language of strength. You're not punishing her. You're preserving your power. And more importantly, you're preserving your future. Because silence isn't absence. Silence is sovereignty. Every time you respond to her breadcrumb, you reinforce the story that she left a boy, not a man. Every time you reply to her vague "hey stranger," you show her that you're still waiting. Every time you cave, you confirm her power. You make yourself the backup plan, the emotional safety net, the open door she strolls through when her new thrill gets old. She doesn't miss you, she misses control. But when you go silent, fully, completely, without exception, you disrupt the cycle. You remove the certainty that you'll always be there, and that absence creates gravity. The silence becomes a mirror. She begins to feel the weight of your absence like an empty throne in a kingdom that once held fire. She checks your stories and sees nothing. She scrolls your messages and sees distance. She reaches out and hears nothing. And now she begins to wonder, did I lose something real? Because real presence isn't noisy. Real power doesn't chase. Real men vanish when disrespected. And every time you stay silent, you train her mind to associate your absence with consequence. You're not just gone, you're evolving. So ask yourself, how many times have you taught someone they could mistreat you without consequence? Now ask this, how would your life change if you made silence your strongest boundary? But there's one exception, only one reason to break the no contact rule. And it's not loneliness, it's not nostalgia. It's not a cryptic post or a midnight message that stirs your old emotions. It's accountability, specificity, intention. 3 pillars. Miss one, and you miss the point. If she reaches out saying, "Hey, I miss you," or "Hope you're well," it's not real. That's not vulnerability, it's vanity. That's not reconnection, it's reconnaissance. It's her ego sending a flare to see if the throne is still empty. And the moment you reply, you reset the game. She wins again. Now picture this. You're a warrior in exile. You've walked away from the kingdom you once ruled. You've bled, you've built, and you've buried your past. And suddenly, a messenger appears at your gate. Not with armor, not with an olive branch, but with a whisper. "I miss you." No offering, no reckoning, no vow of repair, just a test, a pulse check, a knock to see if the throne still seats a fool. Would a true king open the gates for that? No, you wait, you watch, you assess. But if the message carries this, "I've been thinking about how I hurt you. I realize I shut down. I made you feel alone. I miss you. Not just the routine, but you. I want to fix this if you're open to it." That's not bait. That's a banner of surrender. That's ownership. That's growth. That's not her fishing. It's her finally facing the storm she caused. And that's when you pause, not to surrender, but to assess, to weigh her words like a sovereign, to decide not if you're wanted, but if she's worthy. So ask yourself, how many times have you mistaken a breadcrumb for a feast? How many times have you let a vague message rewrite your progress? This time, you move slow. This time, you move with weight. Because kings don't chase smoke. They wait for fire and decide whether it's worth letting in. Before you reply, filter her message through 3 lenses. Not once, but every time. Make it a ritual. Make it your shield. 1. Accountability. Does she say the words she once avoided? Does she stand in the mess she made? If all you hear is, "We both made mistakes," she's still dancing around the truth. Real accountability is raw. It's naked. It sounds like, "I hurt you, I failed you, and I see it now." Every time she dodges ownership, you delay your response. Every time she shifts blame, you shift focus, back to your peace. 2. Specificity. Is she remembering shadows or moments? "I miss you" is fog. "I've thought about that night I ignored you when you needed me." That's a spotlight. Specificity means she hasn't just missed the idea of you, she's missed you. The man, the moments, the fire. Ask yourself, is she painting a memory or is she just throwing colors at a canvas? 3. Intention. Is she reaching out to rebuild or just to be remembered? Look for effort. Look for direction. Look for a sentence that points to the future, not the past. Every time she says, "I miss what we had," she's chasing a ghost. Every time she says, "I want to rebuild differently," she's showing you a map. Miss one of these and you remain silent. Period. Because this isn't about being cold, it's about being clear. This isn't about bitterness, it's about boundaries. And if she won't name the wound, she'll walk you right back into it. Ask yourself, how many times have you ignored these signs because you were starved for connection? How many times have you made silence a pause instead of a protection? From now on, let this filter become your firewall. Because a man who responds without clarity walks into battle unarmed. Now if, and only if, she qualifies on all 3, here's how you respond. Not with a "miss you too." Not with nostalgia. Not with relief wrapped in validation. You respond from strength, from stillness, from the high ground you fought to climb. "Thanks for your honesty. I've reflected too. I'm open to talking, but only if this leads somewhere better, not back where we were." That sentence is a gate. It's not an invitation, it's a filter. It tells her, if you want access to this kingdom, you'll have to enter through discipline, not desire. You lead the tone, you set the boundary, you dictate the tempo. Ask her this, what's made you reach out now? What's different this time? What are you actually ready for? These are not casual questions, they are pressure tests, and pressure reveals truth. Because a woman who has grown will lean into clarity. She'll welcome the test. A woman who hasn't will vanish into vagueness, offended by the very frame you offer. Every word you say now must build or burn. Nothing in between. Too many men sabotage themselves by replying with emotion instead of evaluation. They respond like survivors of a drought finally tasting rain. Grateful, desperate, blind. But you're not thirsty, you're forged. You don't text because you need to, you text because you're measuring value. You text to interview, not to reconnect. Let me ask you this. How many times have you texted just to see what happens? How many times have you defaulted to softness when firmness was required? Now flip the script, let her earn a second chance, not coast into it on the fumes of old chemistry. Imagine a king at the gates. She kneels, not with flowers, but with a map, a clear plan, an honest confession. And she says, "I'm willing to build differently, if you are." That's when you don't smile. You don't smirk, you weigh, because the right response is not a sentence, it's a stance. You don't react, you reign. If she doesn't reach out with real effort, that's your answer. Not effort in words alone, but in tone, in timing, in truth. If there's no weight in what she says, you hold your line. If she sends vague texts, cryptic quotes, or late-night memories, it's not connection, it's control. It's not love, it's leverage. It's not vulnerability, it's validation seeking. Every time she tosses a half-hearted message into your inbox, she's checking the pulse of your obedience. Every time you reply, you signal availability. Every time you answer too soon, you undo the frame you fought to build. Imagine a man in a boardroom. He speaks little, listens deeply, and when he finally speaks, the room shifts. Chairs lean, pens stop. His words carry weight because his silence trained them to. Now picture the opposite. The man who flinches to speak, who fills silence with nervous noise, who cuts others off to prove he's still relevant. Power is presence, not performance. So ask yourself, in every room you've entered, have you been the one who commands energy, or the one who leaks it? If her message doesn't rise to the level of truth, don't descend to the level of response. So ask yourself, how many times have you responded to preserve the illusion, not the integrity? How many times have you accepted breadcrumbs and called it a banquet? And here's the challenge. Let your silence stretch. Let it breathe. Let it carve out a new reputation. One where your absence speaks louder than her performance. Because your silence is not just a void, it's a verdict, a statement, a scar on the battlefield where your boundaries once bled. And if need be, let that line echo into your bones. Your silence is your sword. Your silence is not weakness, it is war paint. Your silence must remain louder, because a man who cannot hold silence cannot hold a throne. During that silence, you forge yourself, not once, not twice, but every day, in every breath you don't waste on her, in every text you don't send, in every urge you resist. You get stronger, you get sharper, you build your empire, not from spite, but from sovereign resolve. You train while she scrolls, you build while she wonders. You evolve while she reminisces. You become the man she could never imagine leaving because you are no longer the man she left. And if she doesn't come back, good. That space wasn't meant to be filled by weakness. If silence ends the connection, then words were never going to save it. If she disappears in your stillness, she was never ready for your storm. Break the no contact rule only when her message carries weight. Not hope, not guilt. Weight. It must land like a stone, not float like a feather. And when you do respond, you don't crawl, you don't bend, you don't celebrate, you evaluate. You open the gates, not to the past, not to the familiar, but to a kingdom restructured, redefined, rebuilt by your silence. Break silence like a king who rewrote the laws, never like a boy who missed her voice.